Howdy friends, welcome to Free Range Ted. As you might have guessed, I'm Ted. And this is a place where I'm going to explore different ingredients and cooking techniques and probably a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm inviting you to come along for the ride. Let's go. This video is going to be part of a series where I take an ingredient from my previous video and I use it again in the new video. And today's ingredient that I've chosen is going to be Mexican vanilla. This stuff is so good. I use it in a lot of my desserts and anything else where you might need vanilla. And I don't cook a lot of sweets. I know that this is my second video in a row where I've made something sweet, and that will definitely change. But this one just seemed right, because today I'm making banana bread. And you're going to want to stick around to the end of the video, because I'm going to tell you a story from my childhood about banana bread. It's a story of shame and guilt and hopefully redemption for me. Anyway, let's make some bread. If you're going to make banana bread, obviously the first thing that you have to have is bananas. We'll use these. We're just going to take the peel off. Should be pretty easy. They're going to be a little soft and squishy depending on how ripe yours are. But you're going to want to take off the entire peel and also remove the little seed or little whatever that thing is that lives right there on the end. I just pinch it right off. So we're going to remove that completely, and we're going to put all three in a bowl. Just going to mix them around, mash them up a little bit, get rid of any huge chunks. You don't want it to be super creamy. You want to have a little bit of chunks left. And that looks pretty good to me. Done. Now to our mashed bananas, all we got to do is add in both kinds of sugar, a couple of pinches of salt, about 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and we'll give that another mix. Oh, and about 1/3 cup or so of melted butter. Make sure when you're doing the brown sugar that you pack it in there. Loosely packed sugar won't give you enough, so you want to pack it in there nice and tight. You really just want to make sure that you've got it all kind of incorporated. Go around the side. You can switch from the fork to a spatula if you like. And if you don't own a silicone spatula, what are you doing with your life? Get 5, 6. You're going to need them. These are the best. Super handy gadget. You want to scrape around the sides, turn it into the center. We're just making sure that all of those dry ingredients get hydrated, and we've got a nice batter working. To that, we'll just add in our flour. It's about 2 cups. I'm also going to add in about a tablespoon or so of peanut butter whiskey. I'm using Screwball. There's a couple of different ones out there, but I'm using Screwball. I think it's pretty tasty. Yeah, that's good. About a tablespoon or so. And we can't forget our ingredient from the last video, Mexican vanilla. Also about a tablespoon. Last but not least, we're going to add in our 2 beaten eggs. Now give it a mix. You know what? I just discovered that I had 2 dark chocolate bars in my pantry, and I think that would be perfect in this recipe. Give it a little bit different flavor, not your average banana bread. So I have chunked those up, as you can see. Let's dump them in. Now for the baking portion, I've decided to go with a loaf pan, and I have lined it with parchment paper. First I prepared it by spraying in some nonstick spray, and then I trimmed down a piece of parchment paper to fit just in the bottom there, as you can see, the width of the pan. And you want the sides of it to come up over the top, and this is going to allow you to take out the loaf whenever it's done baking without it being stuck to the bottom, because sometimes it can really get stuck in there and then you're going to make a mess out of the loaf. So this method really helps you pull it out clean to get it onto a cooling rack so that you have a nice, beautiful loaf that you can share whenever you're done. All right, we've got it in our loaf pan ready to bake. We're going to cook this for about 55 minutes or so and check it and make sure that it's done all the way through. We can do the old toothpick test to make sure. We just want to make sure that it's cooked all the way in the center. So we'll get this in the oven and take it out when it's ready. So as promised, here's the banana bread story that I talked about at the beginning of this episode. In 1983, I was in 6th grade in my little hometown in Tennessee, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and it occurred to me that the next day was the 4-H bread baking contest at my school. And I desperately wanted to enter this. I have no idea why. I had never baked anything in my entire life up to that point. I was, 11, 12 years old. Never baked anything in my entire life, but I was hell-bent on entering this 4-H bread baking contest at my school. So the only problem really is that I hadn't mentioned this to my parents at all. And in rural Tennessee, as you can probably imagine, not a lot of grocery stores stay open very late at all. So at 9 p.m., there was one grocery store that was still open. And my parents, for whatever reason, agreed to take me there to figure this out. They weren't happy about it, I can promise you that. They were very frustrated, but they loved me and care about me and wanted to make sure that I was able to bake this bread for some reason. So the other piece to this is that it was against the rules to use a prepackaged mix of any sort. For the contest, you had to enter a homemade bread, a bread that you made at home. All I really had at the house was some kind of old bananas, and that's about it. So my dad, who is the ultimate rule follower, mind you, said, let's just go to the store and we'll get a packaged mix, we'll add in the bananas and call it a day. That's all we can really do at this point. So I was nervous about doing that, but I thought, why not? We may as well. So we did that. To this day, I don't really know why he agreed to that, because that is so not his style, but we did. So the next day, we baked up the loaf, and the next day I took it to school and submitted it for judging for the competition. And I didn't feel right about it at all. I knew that I was doing the wrong thing. I knew that I shouldn't be entering a packaged banana bread mix loaf that I had made into this competition, but it was too late. There was no turning back. I was already committed, so I was already in. I just really hoped that I could get through the day without my lie being exposed, and I did. I made it all the way through without the lie being exposed, except I actually won the competition with the packaged bread mix, which meant that I was now going to represent my school at the county-wide bread baking competition that was happening about a month later. I didn't know what to do. I was ashamed. I felt so guilty about it, and I couldn't. At 11 years old, I didn't have the maturity or the emotional intelligence to be able to fess up and say that I had used the prepackaged mix. I didn't want to do that. That was more than I could imagine at that time. And all I could think of to do was to just do my very best at the county bread baking competition and take a scratch-made loaf, find some sort of recipe, take a scratch-made loaf, and try to just do my best and see what happened. Again, I had only made one loaf my entire life, and I cheated at it. So a month later, the county-wide competition rolled around. I had found a family friend who had a banana bread recipe that I could use, and I whipped up just a basic banana bread loaf. It wasn't anything fancy, and I took that sort of proudly to the county-wide competition and submitted it. And there was some really good-looking bread there, and I thought, there's no way I even have a chance at this. It doesn't really matter at this point. I just want this, what felt like a nightmare at the time. I just wanted it to be over and be done with it. And lo and behold, I actually won that competition as well with with the Family Friends recipe. But the thing is that, here I am 39 years later or so, and I'm still thinking about that. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, I didn't deserve the first blue ribbon for sure. I cheated. And I kind of feel like the second blue ribbon that I won, I was holding somebody else's blue ribbon because I shouldn't have been there to begin with. And if I wasn't there, then somebody else would have won. And I know, like, that doesn't make probably any sense. And whoever, came in second place that night at the county-wide competition has long forgotten about this, I hope. But I can't, I legitimately for 39 years can't shake this. It's not like I dwell on it all day, every day, but I still think about it sometimes. And so this recipe that I came up with today is my own. I took what I know about baking and came up with a recipe that I think works well. I fancied it up a little bit, add some chefy qualities to it and that sort of thing. And I wanted to just share it here and hopefully get a little bit of redemption out of this. I'll feel a little bit better about all of this if I'm passing on something good that you can enjoy and you can share. And if you want to enter this recipe into a bread baking competition, do it. It's yours. It's an open source, Creative Commons recipe, so to speak. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you share it with friends and family, and they love it too. Yeah, it feels good to get that monkey off my back. So thanks for listening, and thanks for tuning in. If you like what I do here, if you enjoy the videos or the food that I make, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.